Welcome to the Mic is Hot with my pop
Kane is in
DJ
the building.
So greetings and welcome to the Mic is Hot, one of Atlanta's hottest sports podcasts in the state of Georgia. I'm your host, DJ Thomas, where we talk sports around the ATL. So tell a friend to tell a friend that the mic is hot right now. And without further ado, let me introduce you to my co-host for today's show, Mr. Big Time. Mr. Big Time, are you there?
Yes, sir, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in the house,
Jimmy the Greek.
Jump on this hot
The man. They call him Jimmy the Greek. He predicted Donald Trump. He predicted the Super Bowl last year. He predicted the NBA Finals. This is the man, Big Time. And I'm DJ Thomas. This is the Mic is Hot. It's hot all night long. Want to do a little reminding everybody where they can pick up the show today. iTunes, TuneIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Tune in on the Mic is Hot once a week. We do a recap on the NFL and especially your Atlanta Falcons. All right, shut this thing on down, get this music out of here so we can get down some football there, Big Time. Big Time.
Yes, sir.
I know you saw the game this weekend, so I don't have to ask, did you see the game this weekend? And I haven't got your opinion on how you felt about it. I saw a text from you earlier, and I think we might have a little bit of difference here. And I think the listeners might have a difference also. So what do you think about those Atlanta Falcons after the first ball game in for the season?
Excuse me. Well, I felt real good about that we got the win. That's all that matters. And then we can delve into the details of how it went on. But overall, I was impressed with the win. A win is a win, but there are certain parts of the game that I wasn't pleased with. But one thing I do take into consideration that it was just the first game.
Uh-huh.
And if we go back, if we rewind just a little bit, if you recall, I did say this game was a toss-up.
Mm-hmm.
However, Atlanta I leaned toward Atlanta. And this game did come down to just that. It was a toss-up. Atlanta edged them out.
Okay. First of all, let me say this, and I should have said it before we got started. The win, this is the first game, September the 10th. The Falcons win over the Chicago Bears in Chicago, 23-17. Very close ball game. Came down to the last few seconds of the ball game. The Falcons was able to hold the Bears back and take home a victory on the first win. Now, I want to say right now, before people start saying, well, this guy is not a Falcon fan, he don't like the Falcons or whatever. Most of the time, I give my opinion on the Falcons, on how I feel about them. It's not based on my heart. It's based on what I see and my experience as a former coach and a former player, not in the NFL, but in college. In this particular ball game, I had a lot of things that coming into the ball game, I was questionable about the offensive coordinator. I was questionable about how the defense would look with so many rookies on the defense, and overall how we would play as a team on the road. Because in the past, we have not played well on the road. One thing about the Falcons is a lot of people fans thought that the Falcons would take up where they left off last year. I disagree with that. That was another thing. It was another thing that bugged me was that we got hot the last 5-6 games of the season last year. The Falcons got hot. As I said, we got hot. But coming into a new season, it's a new season. We got to put last year behind us and move forward and stop trying to hold on to the fact that we was probably one of the best teams in the NFL last year. New England showed that as well. They showed that they wasn't the team that ended up at the Super Bowl last year because they got beat by Kansas City. So like I said, one thing about it, I want to let you guys know that I am a Falcon fan, And I do love my Falcons, but I'm gonna call it like I see it. And I think one thing I like about you, big time, you're gonna call it like you see it as well, regardless of if you like it, like the team or not. What were some of the things that you saw this weekend that made you put a question mark in your mind about the Falcons this week?
Well, there was a few things. Let me preface what I'm getting ready to say about those things by saying that remember, and obviously this was the first game. This was the first time we had all the players on the field. It was the first time we had Julio Jones. We had the first time we had Freeman to even play in a game this entire preseason. This entire year so far. So with that, we got to look at that. The team overall was a little rusty, if I can describe it like that. Then you got to take into account that the staff of the Chicago Bears defense was really playing good ball. Yeah. They were They literally shut down our running game. Now and if you take into account that Freeman again hadn't played, but the field was kind of bad and there was a lot of slips, and we just never could get our running game going. If you don't get the running game moving, you're never going to really have a effective or as well of a play action or passing game as you should have. But to answer your question about what was some of those things, I really would put it around just being rusty. The running game wasn't there, and on the defense side of the ball, I was not impressed with the way we, particularly on certain drives toward the end of the game and in that last quarter, we tend to get into a lot of prevent defense. One of the things that really had my heart pumping, and I remember I can imagine many other Atlanta fans. I watched the game with some other folks. I know people in the room were feeling this way. This team is getting ready to lose this game, just like they lost the Super Bowl.
Right.
And I was saying to the folks around, I said, this city does not need this. This team does not need that. And guess what? It did not happen. And so with all that I just said, a good team win the game when it counts. A good team, no matter what happens, they still get the win. And this is what happened Sunday. While I can name many other things that were concerning, this is a very good team, and we're going to win a lot of close games.
Okay, all right, and I can tend to agree with you on that. And like I said, a win is a win, no matter how you get it. I mean, we would love to have a win in the Super Bowl, regardless of what happened, but we didn't, and we lost. But speaking of this ball game, I can name several points that bother me, and I want you to jump in at any time and give me, if you have a reply or a response, go ahead and jump in and say so. But one of the things that bothered me throughout this whole game I watched was Matt Ryan as a quarterback. Now I'm not hating on Matt Ryan, so people don't get mad with me and start saying that you hating on Matt Ryan. And I'm not slamming Matt Ryan this year, but I'm just saying what I assume, and it appeared to me that Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and some other receivers, his timing wasn't there. And I had to look at it, and I actually watched some of the other quarterbacks in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers, I know Aaron Rodgers, but Matt Ryan's a top 5 quarterback, so I had to compare him with some of the other top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. And the ball was being thrown behind receivers, and timing just wasn't down. I'm not blaming him overall. He's not all the fault. The offensive line wasn't clicking either. Of course, when the quarterback don't have blocking, he don't have time, he can't do what he needs to do. And that was one of my biggest things. It didn't appear that the timing was down. I remember Coach Quinn said earlier this year that, in a press conference, that Matt and Julio didn't get a lot of time on the field, but they got a lot of practice time. I don't care about practice time. They needed time on the field. They needed time in that third ball game. They needed to play their whole third quarter, because we went out there and played ball. If you ask me, we looked like New England did. We wasn't prepared. We went out there. It's like we wasn't ready to play. We won the ball game, but we didn't look anything like we did at the end of the season last year. Neither did New England. So if it makes a difference, but That was number one. Number two, the offensive coordinator. I'm not keen on his play calling. I didn't like the idea that he wants to throw the ball short. I don't like the idea he's throwing the ball when you got third and 5, you throwing the ball 3 yards. Reminds me of the old days of Mike Smith. I like to throw the ball down the field, at least throw it to the first down marker and give us an opportunity. And we didn't throw the ball downfield, throw it downfield enough. If you ask me, we didn't throw it downfield enough. You got a receiver like Julio. You got what's the other two guys? We got two other receivers. I can't think of right off the top of my tongue. But we got to throw the ball down the field. Julio didn't get the ball in his hands enough. We can't use Julio all night long as a decoy. I think one time in the ball game, Julio was on the sideline complaining about, hey, they're not throwing the ball down. This is what they're doing. Yeah, you're gonna be able to several times you're gonna be able to use that to your advantage when guys are keying on Julio. This time we didn't give him a chance to really key on Julio because we didn't throw the ball to him enough. And I believe if you start throwing the ball down the field, now those guys will stop blitzing so much, and Matt Ryan probably have a little more time. So everything works out to the end. I mean, so what's your response on what I just said?
Well, first of all, you're not going to – one thing, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but this is seemingly where your tone is coming from. Uh-huh. This team is not going to score a touchdown every time they get the ball. And one of the things we fans got to do is not stop looking at this team this year in the eyes of last year's lens. Your lens in looking at this team got to be looked at in this year's lens. And this year's lens meaning we got a different offensive coordinator, we got a different defensive coordinator. In fact, we got 11 different coaches on this ball club. They're not going to score every time. And number two.
I agree.
Number two. Julio Jones and Matt Ryan did not complete a pass to each other in the preseason. Their preseason is behind us. They did not play with Julio Jones because Julio Jones had off-season surgery last year, and there was no need to put him out there and potentially get him hurt or potentially get him in a situation where we didn't need him. We didn't have him ready for the season. So that threw that off. But when you look at yesterday's game, if you look at particularly on many plays, and I watched this game, if you remember the play where the tight end caught that long pass, 80-yard pass.
Yes.
It was that play was developed because Julio Jones was getting doubled.
Yeah.
And guess what? Julio Jones get doubled a lot.
He get doubled a lot.
The MVP cannot be throwing the ball in double coverage trying to get to Julio Jones.
Even though you said that, even though you said that, we didn't throw the ball down the field. We didn't throw it down the field enough. I mean, Julio's Julio.
His front four was putting pressure on the line. If you ask me to name another thought I had, it was that right guard that we had. This guy was his first time starting on the right guard. That guy was getting beat all day. In fact, during the press conference, Gwen said this guy did not do as well. He didn't call him out, but he made references to his play by saying he got to step up next week and do better because that front line and the quarterback.
Oh, yeah, baby.
You
better step up next week against Green Bay.
This kid that we had, we can't get rid of. So I'm not faulting the fact we didn't get the ball downfield as much because you got to take what the defense gives you. You cannot force the issue. We don't need Julio Jones to catch a whole bunch of big passes when we got 5 or 6 other guys on this team. Atlanta offensive model should simply be, you cover the guy, we gonna find the open guy. Because we got just that many to find. Cooper was the MVP on offense yesterday. And then we had another tight end that caught a pass. We got a lot of guys that throw. Sanu is in there that we can throw the ball
Freeman,
to. We can throw the ball to even Freeman. We can throw it to Coleman. We ain't going to concentrate on one guy.
Sanu caught 6 passes for 47 yards. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But the problem
why should we concentrate on one guy that we know going to get double and almost triple team? If he can be used or should be used as a decoy, let it be done. I must say, Danny, I totally disagree with your philosophy on Sarkisian. This man did a good job yesterday. He did a very good job.
Too predictable.
He was mixing it up. He was giving to.
He threw screen passes short. We had several times we had an opportunity to get a first down, and we threw the ball 5 or 10 yards. I mean, instead of throwing to the down marker.
Put that on. You can't put it on everything. And I'm not saying
I'm not putting it on everything. I'm just saying I'm watching
this game, but don't look at it in the eyes of weak judges and play calling. One of the things you got to look at is this, and this happened several times suddenly. Matt Ryan, unlike he had in the last 2 years, has the authority to call audibles. Whenever you see those linemen set in their position and they come back up before the play is called, that's an audible that has been called by Matt Ryan. And the people I was looking at, we watched that. And each time they called an audible, that usually an audible means they're changing the play. Well, they could run the same play. It's also a strategy to throw the defense off. Each time they went down and came back up in a set position, then came back up. The running back received, got the ball, which meaning he could have got it anyway. But overall, Sakina did the job. I had a problem with the defensive coordinator.
Okay. That was my next question to you.
This defense let a rookie running back almost get 100 yards on them. This defense gonna let this game was won. We drove down the field on that last drive, which we should have got us a touchdown. You can't always assume we're gonna get a touchdown. We got a field goal. All right. There was 2 minutes. There was about 2 minutes and some change left in the game. And this team had one timeout left. This team throws the length of the field. And had to go down there and took 4 shots on the 6-yard line? Come on, man. This offense win game, defense win championship. And if the Atlanta Falcons are going to prove that they are a championship ball club, that defense has to do what they did yesterday in the end, but they cannot do what they did to get to the end. Because you cannot let a team try the length of the field and run plays on you and almost get a chance.
I agree.
The same thing that the New England Patriots did. Did it twice.
I would say.
And I'm let you respond.
Go ahead.
Guess what else the teams does to be able to do that. That's why we got to become effective. And what makes that happen is put pressure on that quarterback. Once that team started to do that no huddle is very effective for a team because what it does, it prevents you from changing guys in and out. You get different linemen in for different sets, and you also resting the guys who've been already out there by swapping them in and out. Well, when you do the no huddle, you can't get linemen in because if you try to switch them in, you ain't gonna have enough time before 12 men on the field. They had the ball, that's a penalty. And so this is the same thing that New England did twice last year, going down the stretch. We got to quit playing that prevent defense. I remember the commentary yesterday said, why is Atlanta cornerback giving these guys so much space? You got to jam these guys.
I agree. We're not on them when they. Well, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, I finished, but I'm just saying.
We're not jamming them. We're not jamming them, and it goes back to what I always call preparation and conditioning. And what I didn't see this. This team wasn't ready for the regular season. We wasn't ready. We didn't spend enough time in the preseason trying to get ready for the game. I mean, when I'm about to eat my words. Going to Chicago, we knew it was going to be a battle. Chicago's always going to be a good ball game. The division they come out of with Green Bay and not Detroit, but some of those other teams up there, we knew it was going to be a tough ball game. But maybe it's just because it's the first ball game. I mean, I'm hoping it's just the first ball game. I'm hoping maybe 2 or 3 ball games down the road. But right now, we don't have too much time because we got Green Bay coming up this Sunday night. So I'm hoping that Dan Quinn can go back and make some adjustment. I'm just saying right now, I'm not impressed with what I saw this Sunday. I'm happy for the win, but I'm not impressed with what I saw with the defense or with the offense. Because right now, if we'd have played the Dallas Cowboys in that first ball game or New England, we would have lost. I think we would have lost. And I think we lost terribly bad because I watched Dak Prescott and I watched Aaron Rodgers run up and down the field. Hey, man, those quarterbacks are sharp. Those teams are sharp. That offensive line for Dallas is sharp, man. So right now, I'm doing a little bit of a comparison. Again, I want to say again to everybody that's listening to me out there, I am a Falcon fan. I believe in the Falcons. I'm pulling for my Falcons. I'm not hating, but I see some things. I personally, my opinion is we got some things we got to work on. And I'm hoping Dan Quinn look at that tape and get those guys.
Yes.
Let's get this thing together. Tufan, what was Tufan at in the secondary? I mean, this guy's been out too. He's been injured. See, we've been kind of laying back and like you say, the old thing you say, drinking that Kool-Aid. They've been laying back drinking that Kool-Aid, going through the motion. But hey, we got, even in the preseason, I wasn't impressed during the preseason because I'm like, wait a minute, we playing against teams like Pittsburgh and the Cardinals. They coming out hitting, man. They coming out playing ball because you can't just walk through the preseason. The whole idea behind going through the preseason is get you ready for the for the regular season. And I just, like I said, I just wasn't impressed with that, and that's part of the reason for my predictions for this season. But I do believe and I hope that Dan Quinn and the boys gonna get these boys ready for this Sunday coming up. If not, it ain't gonna be pretty. Because I'm telling you, Rodgers and the boys gonna come up in here, they gonna have a little revenge on their minds, and I promise you. And if we ain't ready, if we ain't stopping them, he gonna throw it downfield. And I mean, that boy, he's throwing darts. He's throwing darts. So
you're exactly right, there, and I agree with you wholeheartedly because what this game, even though Atlanta was a better ball club, and Atlanta was on the road and always tough to win on the road, much tougher to win on the road in the NFL. But we should have beat this team much worse than we did. This game should not have been as close as it was. And the reason it was is because it was an extension of how unprepared we had performed in the preseason and gotten this team ready. You're exactly right because, you cannot allow a club that could have a rookie quarterback to a club that you are better than by virtue of talent by talent. Although we haven't beaten Chicago in Chicago since 1983, this cannot happen. And if this is an indicator of what it's going to be like going forward, we're going to lose some games just as easy, just as close as we won that game yesterday. We're going to lose some close games. And another thing, one of the people I was looking at the game with, they called the MVP to this team the kicker. They called the kicker the MVP. And they was using that example every time he kicked. They was being funny about it. But what they was basically saying was, we go down the field too often kicking field goal when we should be punching that ball in the end zone.
Did it remind you when Mike Smith was here? We did a lot of that. Roddy White said it right there in one of the media conferences. Roddy White said it best. Hey, look, we kicking field goal. We need to score a touchdown.
Yes.
And you can't win ball games like that. I mean, I remember we had a fourth and short yardage. Sometimes we got to take those chances. And I understand maybe they want to put some points on the board before we start taking some chances. But hey, look, man, we got to, and I got patience. I'm patient. We're all patient. We got 15 more ball games to go. So we got a long ways to go. I'm just speaking out right now on what I see, and there's a lot of things I see. And the problem I got with that is that's what preseason is for, to work a lot of those out. We didn't work a lot of those out.
Coming early on, you got to watch the film and come back. I still was overall impressed with the win. I think the win clearly was on the defense.
What were you impressed with? What were you impressed with?
But the fact that we sacked the quarterback, we got 4 sacks in this game. Well, it doesn't matter the rookie quarterback. I heard somebody on the radio say today, which I don't know if it's true or not, one of the commentators say this is the first time Atlanta had 4 sacks. They said Atlanta never had 4 individual quarterback sacks in the game, in one game, under the entire time that Mike Smith was here.
Okay.
The entire time we never had under him had 4 sacks in one game. We were knocking this guy down. We were really putting pressure on them. Now, I wasn't impressed without stopping the run, but when you put pressure on that quarterback, and that's going to solidify a lot of the other problems. I was impressed with that. On that last drive, there was no way, I believe, that we had enough coverage in the end zone. When they took 4 shots at that end zone in the red zone.
Uh-huh.
On the 6-yard line, they took 4 shots. And the thing that stopped it was the sack. If it wasn't for that sack, they probably was going to get that pass in the end zone.
Okay.
It was just that. And so, and here's another thing why I was impressed by that. One of the things this team defense has had a problem in all of last year, and for several years back, we haven't had a lot of pass rush.
Right.
Big Beasley had a nice sack. We had the young kid, McKinney. He had a sack. I was impressed with our front 4. We got to keep doing that because for this team to be successful, D, we got to play good defense. We cannot rely on our offense to carry us when teams are going to be coming at Matt Ryan, they're going to be coming at Julio Jones, and they're going to shut down Freeman. So our defense got to help us out. Our defense kept this game close. Them guys only scored 17 points. Defense did a very good job, and that's what is going to be important for us to be successful. Matt Ryan did a very good job. Matt Ryan was sacked on that long play. He was knocked down to one knee, bounced up, and still composed himself and found the guy. Matt did another long pass to Sanu.
Were you impressed with Matt Ryan in this ball game?
Very impressed. Very impressed, man.
In what area?
Matt came in there. Matt only had 11 passes that were dropped. He had almost 400 yards. They had 3 touchdowns. And the man kept himself composed when that was coming in there on him. I was very unimpressed with our offensive line. Our offensive line was getting bull rushed by their front four. And that right guard must do a better job. There have always been a problem in this preseason as to who was going to start in that right guard position. Mm-hmm. And Dan Quinn has said throughout the preseason that position was up for grabs. And the guy who did get the start, he didn't do a very good job yesterday. Matt Ryan got sacked a couple times when he shouldn't have been sacked. And I have contended ever since this man been a Falcon. I've said it then, I said it before, I say it now. When Matt Ryan get time, he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. He's one of them, and even yesterday he did a run. He ran for a nice first down yesterday down in the red zone. He had a very good game, man. He played gritty on the play. He's tough.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not discounting Matt. I'm not discounting. I'm just saying overall team effort. And I was making some points about certain people, and this jury is still out on the offensive coordinator because I think this is going to make a big difference on his play calling. If I'm not mistaken, last year you were saying one of the reasons when you blame 4 people for the loss of the Super Bowl, the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and the quarterback, because quarterback should have changed the plays. And this year, we still got the same quarterback, and we still got the same head coach, but we got a new offensive coordinator, and he's actually calling the plays that should be ran each time. So I'm just saying that some of the stuff I saw this week in the ball game, it took me back to 2 years ago. It didn't remind me of the same team that we ended up with, and not taking anything away from Chicago, they might end up being a pretty good team after all. But I mean, one team. Let me ask you this question: what team in the NFL this year were you mostly impressed with by their performance?
You mean in yesterday's game?
Overall, throughout the NFL, I'm just not changing something, but I'm just going to hit on that right quick. What team in the NFL?
You mean the first week of the season?
First week of the season, yes.
Well, I was impressed with Dallas. I watched the Dallas game. Dallas came in and did a very good job on the New York Giants, and what I was even more impressed with Dallas is going to have a good offense. Dallas got one of the best offensive line in the NFL. Dallas has a very dynamic running back who could have been the rookie of the year in Ezekiel Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, that quarterback.
Prescott.
This guy is smart. Prescott, he's smart.
Yeah,
he can run.
His offensive line was very well.
They looking real good. I wasn't surprised by what I saw with them on the offensive side of the ball. I was more surprised how well their defense played. They literally shut down the New York Giants. New York Giants was shut down. They had a very bad game. I love the way they played. I'm watching. I was impressed. I was also impressed with the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers is going to do always what Aaron Rodgers does.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers and their running game was nice. And the key to my why I was impressed with them overall again was the defense.
Yeah.
And these are the teams that we're going to have to have our biggest. We will have our biggest battle with, and we must prove how well we are. Next Sunday night is going to be the real test for Atlanta this year. I am glad it is an early test. I'm ready. I'm looking forward to it because Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Nelson.
Jordan Nelson's back, baby.
They have, oh man, they're going to really put a test to our defense. Our offense, probably, as I said before, our offense will probably not be as prolific as it was last year for other reasons I can name, but our defense should step up, play much better than they did last year, and guess what? That'll prevent our offense from not having to be as good as it was last year. When you take that, I think Atlanta will be the same as they were last year, a very dominant team. A very dominant team. That's why next Sunday night is going to be so important for another reason. Atlanta must come into that Georgia Dome. The Falcons, I know the fans are going to be ready. There's talk that the roof is going to be open. And Atlanta going to be on stage next Sunday night. Only game on, and they must come out and not only play well, they must win that game. And this is going to send a message to the league that this team is ready. And if they don't do that now, it could also send a message to the team that early on we're not ready.
A lot of words from my man, big time. I want to play something. I want to play something here right quick.
Before you do that, Dennis, can I say that before you do that? Could you respond to the question that you asked me about who you were impressed with yesterday for the team?
Okay, I'm keying this this line. This is Dan Quinn's comments from the from after the game. So I want to key that right quick so we can hear that, and then I'll come back and I'll give you my opinion on that. And I'm just trying to get it to play right now so I can see it spinning.
But the Falcons, while you're getting that together, let me continue, if I could. The Falcons.
Go ahead.
Because you got to have resiliency, you got to have toughness for you. Because you got to have resilience, you got to have toughness, all right, to go all the way through. And that's what this one is. That's just 1 of 16, and we're just getting started on this thing. Isn't it cool, man? So I want to recognize a couple guys. How about game winner, walk-off, Brooks Reed? A tight end you can't have better than two catches for 128. I do jobs, my brother can do his. All right, he does his, so I can do my own. All right, everybody knows, man. We're all an extension of what we do together. Way to back out, man. We got a lot of work to go. Falcons on 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right. Okay.
That was a lot of breakup on that one.
Yeah. That was Dan Quinn talking about some of the highlights in the ball game this weekend, and some of the players that stepped up and played big for the Falcons. Bruce, I forget the guy's name, the big guy, white guy on the end at defensive end. He was awesome.
Yeah, and I was very impressed with Hooper, man.
Yeah,
that is another guy that's getting better and better. Not only is the tight end is what is the missing link to what our offense can be in the passing attack. He does good blocking, and one thing I like about this kid. He's a graduate of UCLA. He's a smart kid, and he can run without once he catch the ball. That stiff arm that he put on that defender was dynamic, and I've seen him do that before. Very powerful runner, and the Falcons got another weapon.
And what makes what makes him so good? Because a lot of time when people are focusing on Julio or Sanu or Gabriel, then they don't really pay that much attention to Hooper. And that's what happened on that one big play that he was wide open. Then everybody was focusing automatically. The safety went over to Julio, and next thing you know, Hooper was wide open in the middle, of course, and scored. You know,
and that was a design play. He talked about that play in detail on the radio today. That was a design play that he knew the name of the play, they knew the route to run, and he said the key to the success of it was Matt allowed the defender to bite, the safety to bite on Julio. Right. And if he hadn't stepped up in the pocket and composed himself after he was knocked down to one knee, he probably wouldn't have had a chance to throw that pass there.
Right.
One of the things the fan must understand is that Julio Jones is so good that he's causing effect to the entire defensive scheme of the other team.
That's true,
and
but his
presence on the field is always going to be very helpful to Atlanta.
That is true, but you're still going to have to go to your money man when you got 3rd and long. You can't be throwing the ball out of bounds and throwing the ball short. You need to go to Julio. I mean, that's a fact. You need to go to Julio. You need to go to Sanu. And those guys are downfield. They're going to be open. If you put the ball where it needs to be put. Now, I watched some quarterbacks. To answer your question you asked me earlier, Aaron Rodgers, again, of course, always is threading that needle, man. He's threading that needle. He's throwing the ball down the field and putting the ball in between two receivers. A good quarterback will put the ball where it's supposed to be, and a receiver like Julio will bring it down, will bring it home. So I don't know if Matt was afraid to actually say, I mean, he wasn't really – timing wasn't down yet, so I'll give him a week or two to get that down. But, I mean, I saw him do it last year at the end of the season. But you got to throw that ball in there for Julio, and you got to throw it in there for Sanu. Those guys are your money men. I mean, they're going to get your first down almost every time.
One of the things, you're exactly right. And one of the things that Aaron Rodgers does so well, it's like the quarterback.
He's going to hit Jordan Nelson regardless of who's on him.
They buy time, and they allow those receivers to get open when they're mobile. Now, obviously, Matt is not as mobile. We can't make him be what he is.
Right. But what
that means is that offensive line got to do much more protecting.
Well, let me say this.
Matt got to step up in that pocket and create some space for himself.
Well, one thing has to happen. Just like last year, we got to play in the system when they start blitzing like that. Then they run that tight end comes across the middle. I think it was Hooper comes across the middle, and the quarterback stands up pretty much and pops in there real quick. Because the linebackers are blitzing or whatever. I called that play, and they were blitzing. I said, they need to come back and run that play right across the middle and release the ball faster. And they did, but Matt threw the ball behind the receiver. So I'm not okay. Don't slam it too early. I'm just saying we gonna have to get that timing down. I mean, once we get that timing down, start moving that ball down the field. Then when we start throwing down the field, then they won't blitz, and then it'll open up our running game as well. So now I'll go back and answer that question you asked me earlier. You said what team was I impressed with? Number one, Aaron Rodgers. Always. Aaron Rodgers to me is like probably the number one quarterback in the NFL, if you ask me, because I think for his accuracy, for his been able to consistency, and he's consistent, accurate, and that's your quarterback out there. Number two, I was impressed with the team that played. I don't know why I'm swallowing my words now. I was impressed with the Chiefs, Kansas City Chiefs, that played New England. I mean, that quarterback, that team, man, he was threading the ball. They was running up and down the field on New England like nothing. And I'm not saying I was when I first started watching the game, I started saying, well, maybe New England's not playing that well. But it wasn't New England not playing that well. They were just consistent. And I'm trying to think of the coach right now. It'll come to me in a minute. They were consistent about moving the ball down the field and finding an open man. And that's what you got to do. You got to be aggressive on your offense about forcing plays in there on your defense and making your defense put them on the heels. Number three, Dak Prescott, and those guys played, man, with Dallas. I was impressed with his play and how, of course, he had a good job with his offensive line, and I love to see offensive linemen go downfield, whether a running back's running or a quarterback complete a pass. You got people downfield making blocks and things. It's a whole team. It's a team effort. No matter who's playing, it's a team effort, and I like to see that. And like I said, those are the three top teams for me in the NFL this week. But now, for our division, now, I mean, Cam Newton, man, those guys, maybe of course we can't count them out. And I didn't have a whole lot of expectation for them. Of course, we haven't seen Tampa Bay yet. But I mean, New Orleans, I mean, it's not a whole lot.
Let me add this: everything looked good for us. When you look at our vision, I interjected, for this purpose that I looked at our division closely yesterday, and looked at all those games. One of the things when you look at Carolina played San Francisco, which was a much easier game for them. San Francisco is on the rebuild, so that wasn't really much of a test for them, even though they were on the road. And then when you look at Tampa game was postponed due to the weather. Well, here's where that helped Atlanta again. Tampa now, that makeup game going to have to be their bye week game.
Yeah.
So what Tampa has to do, Tampa literally has to play the rest of the way without any bye weeks.
Right, exactly.
And that's a plus for Atlanta. And then when you look at, obviously, I watched the last portion of the Minnesota New Orleans game, and I was very impressed with what the quarterback for Minnesota did.
Oh, yes.
And I was even overly impressed with what happened on the sideline and how they weren't allowing the guy to run the ball. And, it's not only I'm impressed with what happened, I was just being their rivalry. Adrian Peterson went in and went after Sean Payton, and there was a talk of Tuesday morning talk about what happened. But we look good right now. We look good based on all of that, what happened. But remember, just week 1, I'm not concerned at all about New Orleans because New Orleans, Drew Brees was still Drew Brees yesterday. This guy's going to find the receiver no matter who it is. He's an accurate quarterback. But as long as that defense is the way it is, I don't see them being a problem at all. And another thing, let me add, under Dan Quinn, I think Dan Quinn know how to attack and strategize against these Saints much better, unlike what Mike Smith ever was able to do.
Right.
And so New Orleans is not a problem for us. My concern is the Saints. Is the Panthers as well as the Buccaneers. And I think once this team gets rolling, once the laps start to clean up, get a little of that rust off of them, if we come out Sunday night and do what I believe we can do, I see this team easily going on a nice stretch run where we win a number of games. And we may strongly go past my prediction of 11
Big time. Might I remind you, doing your prediction, as we call game by game, you did call this next ball game a loss. So, I know we all want to see them win, but unless you have changed your mind since we talked a couple weeks ago, you saw Atlanta losing this ball game against Green Bay. Do you still stand with that?
Well, if I did, I'm gonna stand by that.
Okay.
And if it's going, because if it in the end it still equal up to my 11 wins, if that was part of my 5 losses, then I'll stand by that. I didn't remember that specifically. You remember it?
I'm looking at it on paper right here, baby. I wrote everything down. Yes.
I'm always concerned about Aaron Rodgers.
Uh-huh.
Aaron Rodgers just came last year. Aaron Rodgers, in the game we played them in the regular season, this man ran for 60 yards on us. Literally beat us by himself. The game came down to the last play on a Hail Mary before we beat them, and we were at the Georgia Dome.
Exactly.
You're looking at a rejuvenated team that's coming to play us early again this year.
Yes.
With a different running game and defense.
And Jordy Nelson.
Aaron Rodgers with the same jersey on.
And Jordy Nelson.
That's second. Yes. And
healthy Jordy Nelson.
That second game that we played them in the Georgia Dome, which was a playoff game, the Packers were literally on the defensive side of the ball was depleted. They were beat up.
Yes.
Now we got a healthy ball club. They have a healthy ball club. They will love nothing better than to come into Atlanta on a Sunday night in the Georgia Dome in the Mercedes-Benz, let me correct myself, and spoil the party. And I still stand by what I predicted. Atlanta will lose that game.
Oh, big words by a big man. And I say the same. But I hope for a victory. I'm pulling for a victory. I believe the Falcons can win. And won't nothing be sweeter than the Falcons to win their first game in the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium than to beat the last year's NFC title game against the Green Bay Packers. Folks, it's been a long I won't say it's been an hour. It's been about 40 minutes, so we're gonna get ready to wrap this thing up. I know Big Time got things to do tonight, and hey, we love coming at you and bringing the updates on it. You guys send us a text or you email me at themicishot@gmail.com and with your comments, and I'll make sure next time we'll bring them up on the show for you. Make sure you go online and listen to the show and see what we got, see what's new, and give us your opinion. What do you think about the Falcons? And I guess by next time we'll talk. I got KB and a couple other guys. They want to do a show later on tonight or maybe tomorrow. Probably tomorrow. I'm about tired of talking tonight. But the mic is always hot. It's always about your opinion, folks. It's all about your opinion because everybody has an opinion. Doesn't necessarily mean you make your opinion right or wrong, but it's your opinion. Am I right, Big Time?
Yes, indeed. The mic is hot.
And Big Time,
bring it out every time.
And Big Time, my co-host, always. Hey, it's been a hot show. We're going to catch you next time. And God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. So, folks, where's my music? Where's my music? Where's my music? I don't hear my music. All right, keep talking, Big Time. I'm gonna get my music key.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm looking forward to a nice win. By let me throw in while we wait. I was very impressed, even though I was wrong, and it don't matter whether I'm right or wrong, that the Georgia Bulldogs did go into
South Bend, Indiana,
and beat and edged out the Notre Dame Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, and I'm hopeful that they'll have a great season as we continue to march along to this playoff college playoff berth. But
go ahead, Big Time. Go ahead.
Oh,
yes.
Go ahead.
We look forward to talking to you next time when the mic is hot.
okay.
All right, folks, we up out of here. The mic is hot. DJ Thomas doing it for you. 1, 2, 3. We'll catch you next time. We out here.